Hi guys, this is Hiro. How's everyone doing today? So today I'm going over the topic of daydreaming. Okay? Daydreaming is not necessarily what I would want to coin like a bad thing, but it definitely could be effective for us to monitor it, be aware of it, and not get too caught up into it. So I'm going to break down each of these three things and possibly add more things to this list as this video goes on if I think of something else. Why do we want to monitor it? Well, usually our daydreams are produced because of something our ego is trying to avoid or something our ego is trying to go towards. Usually it's a combination of both, and usually it's a combination of like a bunch of different things on both of these that produce this thing called a daydream, right? Like this daydream is just feeding you all this validation and whatever. Like you imagine this complete bullshit scenario where your emotions, your egos, everything is just filled to the max. And this is not how real life works, right? But what we can do is we can observe these daydreams to see what you're most attached to. Okay? Let's just say you daydream. Let's just say you're a man, and you daydream that you're walking into a room. Everybody's looking at you like you're the shit, guys and girls. Okay, so right there, right off the jump, we can notice that we have a heavy need or desire for validation from both sexes, right? We just want approval, validation. So we can accept that we might not get approval. Okay, and that will help us detach from approval. And just once we say to ourselves, hey, it's okay if we don't have approval. It's okay if not everybody is looking at me like I'm the number one person in the whole world. Once we become okay with these things start to break down and these daydreams won't be as strong. Okay, but we can use the daydreams, and there's a bunch of different things, right? I'm just giving one example. There could be a million different things that you could daydream of. I'm just giving one example, okay? But so this is why you want to monitor it. You monitor it, you see what attachments or what things you're running away from that are producing this daydream. So I gave an example of a daydream that has to do with something that you want, right? Now, there's also daydreams that have to do with stuff that you're trying to run away from, right? So let's just say you're scared of, well, things you're trying to run away from are also, you're trying to run away from them because you kind of want something else. Like, for example, usually you are trying to run away from being homeless or being without a job or being a bum or just being a loser because you want to be a success, and you're running away from it because you want to be a successful person, you want to be a rich person, whatever. So, but I'll give you the example here. So let's just say you have a daydream of being this super hotshot CEO of a small business or corporate C-level person. You just walk in, everybody's just like, oh man, look at this person, okay? So we want to add, and let's just say right now, currently, you're just a bum at home, right? You're not doing anything with your life. And you're having this daydream. So you kind of want to tackle both ends. You want to tackle the accepting not getting what you want and then accepting your fear coming true. So not getting what you want is accepting not just being successful, accept not, any amount of success might not come easy, etc. And then you also want to accept, your fears you're running away from. So your fears of being a loser in life or whatever fears are producing this daydream, right? So that's where you want to observe, okay? Now, also one other thing about daydreams is that you want to monitor them, okay? And at the same time, accept them. So I just gave the observing portion, right? You want to observe them so you know what to accept, okay? Now, you want to monitor. Why? Because you don't want to just daydream all day, right? This is not going to be resourceful at all. And monitoring how much you daydream is actually going to help you observe it better. If you're getting just daydreaming all day, getting lost in your daydreams, it's going to be very hard for you to improve spiritually, right? But if you were to monitor them, then you can actually observe them properly. Because if you're just getting lost in them and you're not monitoring anything, then it's just like, what's the point? You're just jumping into this over and over. But if you're monitoring, that allows you to kind of limit it and observe properly and kind of be a little bit detached from the daydreams, okay? Now, as far as accepting, so this whole thing, I'm kind of skewing daydreams as like this bad thing. It's not, because we can learn from it, but I'm kind of directly portioning the daydream as bad. However, we still need to understand that we need to accept the daydreams, okay? We need to accept the fact that, Krishna says in the Gita, controlling the mind is like controlling the wind, okay? In the short term, his meaning is in the short term. If your mind produces a thought, you can't judge it. If you try to judge it and resist it, it's just going to persist, okay? So we want to accept everything that our mind produces. So yes, you want to monitor, right? When you daydream, you want to monitor and be like, oh man, I'm daydreaming a lot or whatever. But we don't want to be like, oh man, I shouldn't daydream, whatever, right? You want to accept everything, but you also want to be as aware and monitor and saying, hey, objectively, I'm daydreaming too much. Let's observe them, because I'm probably daydreaming a lot because there's something I'm attached to, either a desire or a fear. So let me start breaking these down. So this desire or fear is not controlling my subconscious, causing this daydreaming to keep happening. All right, this is a real way to take care of it. The fake way is to just distract yourself and do activities and things like that and hope the daydreaming just goes away. It's not going to fix the problem, most likely, directly at least. Okay, indirectly, the problem can get fixed. That's the thing. Sometimes people do things that it doesn't directly fix a problem, but it indirectly fixes a problem. This could happen, and that's great. But this is not something that you should necessarily, I'm not going to say you shouldn't preach this, but you should realize that the thing that you did not actually cause the solution that you wanted. It caused something else, right? Which was probably a combination of a few other variables, which caused the solution that you wanted, okay? So just keep that in mind. But yeah, at the end of the day, you can't control your mind in the short term. Whatever it produces at you, you want to accept. Just make sure you don't, try to be too harsh on yourself, right? Because, your mind, your ego, your emotions, everything you were given to in this birth for a reason, okay? Yes, we are not our mind, we are not our ego, etc. But it's still a part of this birth, something that we have to deal with very closely and on a very intimate level. So just remember that, okay, before you try to change that, because it's probably not going to change too much in this birth as far as its overall tendencies, right? For example, overall tendencies of the ego is to just overall have a very extremist mindset, either super pessimistic or super optimistic, whatever, okay? But that's enough of this topic of the daydreaming. If you have any questions or comments, as usual, you can feel free and let me know. And until next time, I will talk to everyone later. Thank you all very, very much for watching.